Thank you for coming. And what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to explain what I'm doing is something called a High Performance Leadership Project. This is in our new Pathways online learning program. Is kind of that there are 5 levels to this program. This is at the level 5 level. So what this is it's a project where you affect, and we'll get into it in a minute, where we have a group of people that act as a guidance committee for you while you're going through the process. And what it does, it really builds a lot of different leadership skills by doing. So you have people who have done things similar to this in the past, and now they're guiding you to do the same. So, what is a division and what is an area? Well, in Toastmasters, the way that works, the top of the entire food chain is the member. And members actually belong to clubs or organized programs, depending if you're more in the corporate version. Those clubs could make anywhere from, I've seen them as small as 10 to as large as 80, and then 5 or 6 of those clubs has what they call an area director who helps support all of the club officers in those clubs. And then a division is made up of 5 or 6 areas and has a division director who support those 5 to 6 area directors. And currently that's my job in Toastmasters, among many others. So our division is downtown San Francisco, and we have 5 areas and a total of about 27 different Toastmasters clubs, all right in downtown. Now, I work at the airport, and my home club is at San Francisco International Airport. But I take BART every day, all the way from the East Bay. So for me to be able to go work with clubs, I need to be able to get there via BART, so that's what I do. So I kind of talked a little bit about, this was a Pathways project, and I'll not get into the gory details here. This is something that when you're working in what they called our legacy program, which was more the speeches and manuals type of thing, where this was the top project that you did. In this case, it's a little bit different. We have something called the Distinguished Toastmaster Capstone Project. It does require a committee of several people. It also requires you give 2 presentations. One prior to starting the project and one at the end of the project. This is the one at the end. So how did it go? Well, what we did is the division that I work with was traditionally one of the ones that had lots of room for improvement. So my idea was that we would get all representatives from all 27 clubs together in one place, and we would talk about things. So it went very well. We had 5 area directors. All 5 of them came. All 5 of them worked with the clubs in their areas, and they had a separate meeting inside of the meeting where they just talked about what everybody was doing, best practices, and how they could learn from each other. We also had a short keynote speech, which was about 7 minutes long, that I gave, just explaining what I'd like to do, what my perspective was on how we could improve, and ask for their help. We had another lady named Catherine talk about something called a club consultant program. What that is about a 2 to 3 month program where you have a club that maybe is struggling, whether they've lost some members or what have you. And we go in and kind of help them on a short-term basis, maybe work on one area. Maybe it's they want to increase their membership. Or it's different than what we call a club coach, which is where you spend over a year with a club and helping them to improve in all facets of the organization. Everything went pretty well. I also had a panel of these 5 area directors, and we asked them questions from the crowd, and that was pretty interesting, and they had quite a lot of fun with that. We also, in this project, requires a 360-degree evaluation, which I can see Anita's nodding back there.
Yes.
You know, a lot of companies do that nowadays. This one, I have a bunch of people that are working on it. They haven't finished filling them out, but I decided to give the speech anyway and call it a day. I'll get them and I'll report back on what that information is. I've done this with this 360-degree evaluation form a few times in Toastmasters. And it's always interesting because it can be a very humbling experience. We see ourselves one way, other people often see us very differently. And part of learning about how to get better is being able to take that feedback and do something with it. So I had these people that all worked with me on my guidance committee. These are all people that have a lot more time in Toastmasters than I do, and that I respect their opinions very much. We've met several times, mostly either a phone, conference call, or what have you. And, you know, they've given me some really good advice because actually I was stuck in traffic with Noemi one time giving her a ride home to Oakland from a meeting in San Francisco. And that's how we dreamed this whole thing up, strangely enough. And so I just kind of went with it. I think lessons learned, if there's things that you would do different or things that you can make it better, are always a key point. I'm going to do this in about another 6 months because if I ask people to do something, it only makes common sense to me that after a period of time I'd want to report back to them on what I actually did and how I improved things. If I did, or if it didn't go the way I thought it was, what can we do better? I also realized I need to provide some training for some of my area directors, which is fine, and it's simply just to help them help others. Nothing more, nothing less. I think overall, this was a really great experience. I was really glad last year that our division had 3 area directors when we should have had 5. This year we have all 5, and it's making a big difference because there's people that can call them and they can provide assistance as needed. I'm really glad for the area directors. I'm really glad that I chose this. And in essence, this is actually part of a much larger project it's a project within a project that I'm working on. And that project is called Distinguished Toastmaster Project. So I did all kinds of different things as part of that. One of them is for a team building exercise. I took them to a place in San Mateo called Sandbox VR. It's a full-on virtual reality experience. And we all had a great time there, and I paid the bill and just said, hopefully my accountant will become clever and figure a way we can write this off. We also had monthly phone calls. We have all these different things we're doing, but most importantly, what's really important is to make sure you're having fun while you're doing all that. And I can unequivocally say that we have a lot of fun, both in this club and other places here in Toastmasters. I really enjoy coming to this club for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons that matters to me most is that I spent a lot of time traveling in the Pacific Rim countries. Part of my job when I was in the service was that I would make lots of Western Pacific deployments. And so I pretty much hit the gamut of most of the countries. And I enjoyed myself greatly over there, made a lot of good friends, and I really like this club as well. It's just why I joined it. Thank you.
That was a wonderful speech.